This is the video for the installation of your DuraWater series softener. You will receive it in two packages. The tall one is the loaded mineral tank with either the 10% upgraded resin or the upgraded fine mesh resin. It's already shipped in the tank for you. In the mineral tank there, it's got a cap on it. You'll see all that here in a moment. And then there's a smaller box, the shorter box anyway. That's the brine tank, the salt tank, and inside there is the control valve. And if you ordered a KDF 55 or KDF 85 media guard, the bypass, all the fittings and things are in that box along with the salt tank. But there's the two packages you will receive. Every once in a while they get on a separate truck with UPS, so you can check the status there on the UPS tracking information that you get. At the bottom it says packages in this shipment, 2 of them. Click on that and you can track each individual package, but either way you can always call us if you have any questions. All right, let's go over everything that you will receive with your new DuraWater softener. In those two boxes, obviously you have the big wide one was the salt tank, the brine tank, and you have the taller one, the mineral tank. The scuba looking tank has the resin already preloaded in there, either the 10% resin or the fine mesh resin upgraded there. So you have those. Inside you'll also have the valves. You'll have either the DuraWater mechanical valve, still metered, still has the meter on there, or the DuraWater HD valve. So you'll have one of those. This is the power supply for the HD model. You also have a bypass valve here, and it will come with a yoke, either in 3/4 inch or 1 inch male threaded, whichever one was ordered there. So you'll have one of those. You also have what we call the upper basket here. It goes on the bottom of the valve before you put it over the riser tube on the tank. We'll show you that. You can choose to use that or not. Either way there. You will also have these small 3 little fittings here. You have a brine line stabilizer, a little ferrule fitting here. That's for the brine line, but you'll have those 3 little pieces there. This is a screen. We recommend that you just throw that away. It ends up clogging and causing more issues. There's a screen internally that gets backwashed with the unit, so we recommend that you just throw this away. It's really not needed. Cause you more headaches in the future to have it in. You also have this piece here, which is an option for hard piping in your drain line. Instead of using the drain barb that is given, there's the drain barb that comes on the unit. If you choose to hard pipe it in, some customers prefer to use this female connector. It's just an O-ring seal there. We'll go over that, but that's what this piece is. You also have a little elbow here, an overflow drain elbow for the salt tank. You also have, this is the brine well. Comes with a safety float in there, you can see. So it comes with a safety float. We'll show you how to install that. And it comes with the brine line here. It's 3/8 outer diameter tubing. You will also, some of you may have opted to purchase the KDF 55 media guard or the KDF 85 media guard. And that's what this item is here. If you got the iron blaster, then it comes with the KDF 85 media guard already. So that is everything that you will receive with your softener. And there are a few items that you will need to bring also here. So you just need a few hand tools. Some Teflon tape. This is a 1/2 inch ID. It's for the drain line. We recommend like a flexible line similar to this, fit over the drain barb, and then a hose clamp to just keep that drain line on there. But that's one way. If you do a hard pipe, you may choose the female adapter there. But that's everything that you will need. Along with that, you also will need some sort of lubrication for the O-rings. We recommend cooking oil if you don't have something else, so that'll work great. But that's everything that you will receive with your DuraWater softener. The first step of the installation is to install the bypass and the yoke onto the valve. So here we have the DuraWater mechanical valve here with the meter. So you see everything is an O-ring seal. So you'll just push that on there, and it's got some metal clips here. So you may need to loosen those to get it on, and then we'll snug those up. We'll show you that. And then the yoke, you can see if you get the DuraWater HD valve, the DuraWater HD valve, it's the same thing, the O-ring seal, so the bypass is the same. So you just loosen some of these clips here a little bit, make sure you lubricate all the O-rings, put the bypass on, and then the yoke fits onto the bypass there. As you can see, we've already, just to get ready for the installation, we put some Teflon tape on the male threads there. Again, 3/4 inch male thread or 1 inch male thread, whichever one you received or ordered. That's what that is. The key, very important, is to not over tighten these screws. Let the O-ring seal hold the water back. It will. You just need to snug these screws up. Do not over tighten any of these screws that are on these clips here. You'll crack here, crack the meter, crack the valve, and that'll cause a leak there. Even if not right away, it goes into backwash or something, it'll crack that. So leak there. So do not over tighten those, just snug them up. Let the O-ring hold the water back. Before we put the valve onto the tank, this is the time that you would put the upper basket on if you want to use that. Or if you have the KDF 55 or KDF 85 media guard, you would put that on before you hand tighten the valve on the tank. And you can see some little knobs here, little grooves that'll fit in there. So you just line up those grooves with there, you push it in, and then you just do a quarter turn, just turn a little bit to the clockwise there. And so it's just a quarter turn. Same with the KDF media guard. Just line up the grooves on there and do a little turn, quarter turn. It might be easier to actually set the valve upside down in your lap to be able to get those on there, but that's how those go on. So we moved our tank to the location for our installation now. And the first thing we want to do is we want to put that valve on the tank. It's got this cap, it just comes off. You just loosen that cap off and you'll notice inside there you have what's called the riser tube. And if it is moved over to one side or not, it's not a big deal. Remember, it's got the resin already in there, but you want to make sure this is centered on the bottom of the valve, whether you have the KDF 85 media guard, 55 media guard there, or the upper basket. You just slide that over there and that's going to slide right over. So that's what we're going to do here with the valve. Just want to make sure that that riser tube fits right up into that smaller circle, and then hand tighten the valve onto the tank. When you're hand tightening the valve on the tank, I'm just using one hand here to spin it. When it gets snug, there is a large O-ring on the bottom of that valve, so you just want to let it hold the water back. But I just snugged it up like a 2-year-old would. You know, you definitely don't want to grab here and crank on it. You'll crack the valve body. Even if you don't get a leak right now, during a backwash, it'll start spraying water, get water everywhere. So just like a 2-year-old would tighten that, let the O-ring hold it back. Of course, you lubricate all O-rings everywhere with that lubrication for potable water, cooking oil, but definitely do not over tighten that. The O-ring will hold the water back. You do not want to, you'll definitely crack that valve if you over tighten it. Now we want to go ahead and connect our plumbing. Notice how the bypass here, both these knobs are in this position here in line with each other. That means it's in bypass mode. To turn to in service, then you would rotate those clockwise to turn to in service. But for the installation, we definitely want to keep that in the bypass mode for now. We are using some flexible lines, makes it very convenient. To plumb to. Again, these are male threaded here, NPT, so 3/4 inch or 1 inch, whichever one you have, will make it easy to thread on with the flexible lines there. The flexible lines also have rubber washer, plastic washer there that helps hold the water back, so you definitely don't need to over tighten those as well. Keeping in mind we're putting just a couple wraps of pipe tape on here. Do not need to overload those. It's just a couple wraps of pipe tape, and then you can go ahead and connect your plumbing to the yoke there. Next, we're going to connect the brine line, which is the tube that goes from the valve here with this brass fitting here, it's a compression fitting, to the salt tank. It's the 3/8 line that is provided. So first we want to just take this compression nut off of here, and we're going to show you exactly the order that these go on the brine tube. So this is the order these go on. The brine nut, the compression nut would go on first, and then the little white ferrule fitting, notice it's tapered. You want it to point towards where the valve is going to be. And then the brine line stabilizer, it just goes in the end there. You just push it all the way in. So there's just stabilizing that. And now you're going to move this and it'll carry there. It's just a compression fitting onto the valve right here. So you're just going to put that in, and then you're going to snug this up. Usually you don't need to have Teflon tape on this one. So you just snug that up, tighten it just a little bit more. Remember, it is a compression fitting. You don't have to crank on it hard, but get a little wrench and just snug that up just a little bit further past than finger tight. So that's how that is. And on the other side, we're gonna take a look at the salt tank here and show you how to connect that line to the salt tank. Yep. Is that it's just got a push fitting here, push connect here for the brine line. So you literally just push that in to that fitting and it grabs it and it just stays right there. So that's all you do to connect it to your salt tank. And of course, the lid is there. You can put it on for an hour or whatever. But that's how you connect here with the compression fitting, the compression nut. And at the other end of that brine line that's provided with the unit is just a push fitting there. We're going to move on to the drain line now. Remember, it comes with the drain barb here. It's just 1/2 inch ID that we connect, that we're going to show you here. Again, you can choose to use the female threaded option there. In order to get that there's a little clip here. You pull the clip out. This is just an O-ring seal, so you'd pull that out, and then you would put this O-ring seal in, of course lubricating it, push it in, and then put the clip back in, and now you have your hard pipe there. So that's how you do that, but we are going to use the drain barb that's provided. As you see, we just put our 1/2 inch ID drain line over the drain barb that is secured a hose clamp here. Line needs to be secure. The water does come out under pressure, so make sure that's secure there with the hose clamp. And so you run that drain line to a drain that's at least 1.5 inches in diameter. And make sure that there is an air gap. It's a free flowing drain, again at least 1.5 inches in diameter, and it will come out under pressure, so be prepared for that. Anyway, so 1.5 inches in diameter drain line, air gap, and it's got to be a free flowing drain there. Now that we have everything installed, we're going to go ahead and talk about how to program the unit, the time of day, and the gallons between backwash. Before we do, we want to go ahead and open the bypass, get the water flowing into the unit. So you'll see straight overhead here, these knobs here are in perpendicular here to the water flow. That means it's in bypass mode. So you would turn those, the inlet first, which is on the right hand side here as you're facing the front of the valve. Over the course of about 5 or 7 seconds, you'll hear water rushing into the tank, and then you'll want to turn the other one as well. Nice and slow, like I said. You don't want to just crank it open real quick over the course of 5 seconds or so. So now it's in there, water will be filling the tank. And while it's doing that, we can go ahead and plug the valve in. It's just a regular plug there to 110 outlet. And now we're going to talk about programming here. So the time of day is very easy to set. You see this white pin here. You see the time of day here, 8 a.m. Let's pretend that it's noon right now. So you would push this little white pin in, and you can just spin this little dial back here freely. So you would want to set it if it's noon, 12 p.m. Make sure that white pin pops back out. Sometimes it gets stuck behind the gears, but that's all you do to set the time of day. And then over here on the right hand side, you see this clear dial is numbered 0 through 21. And the way to find that programming is to take the capacity of your unit and divide it by how many grains per gallon of hardness you have, and then multiply by 0.85, and that'll give you the hundreds of gallons that you would want to program in there. So like the 20 stands for 2,000 gallons, you know, the 10 stands for 1,000 gallons, and so on. So those are hundreds of gallons. And so again, so let's pretend that you have a 32,000 grain softener and you have 20 grains per gallon of hardness. You would take 32,000 and divide it by 20. And then you would just multiply that by 0.85, give you a little reserve there to make sure you don't run out of soft water during the day. And whatever number you come up with on the programming there through that equation is where you'd want to set this dial. And so in order to set that dial, you just pull this little clear dial out. You can pull it out, and then you can twist that dial to whatever number you want to set it at. And you're setting it not to the arrow where it says capacity, you're setting it to the white dot that's on one of those back dials. So again, you're just paying attention closely to where that white dot is and the numbers that's on the clear dial. There's lots of other things in here, lots of other dials and numbers and things like that. Ignore all of that. It's a lot easier to just do the math equation to figure out how many hundreds of gallons that you have between the regeneration. The last thing we want to do here in the setup is to do a manual regeneration. So we have everything plugged in, everything's plumbed, bypass is open, everything like that is programmed. We just do a manual regeneration to get the siphons going and just to make sure there's no leaks in all your fittings and your plumbing and all of that. So before you do that manual regeneration, you just want to put 1, maybe 2 gallons of water in your salt tank there. That'll be enough to create the siphons there to check all the fittings, and then it'll put back in there the correct amount every time. But the way to start this manual regeneration is this big knob here in the middle. You turn it clockwise, it says regen, and you're just gonna basically turn this until you hear the water rushing through the system and to the drain. You won't hear that in our system because it's not got actual water running through it, but you would turn that to where you hear the water rush in the drain, and then you would just leave it alone. You can advance it all the way around like I did, but to get that full regeneration, you just want to turn this knob clockwise until you hear the water rush into the drain. After that, you just want to put the cover back on. Remember, it's just these 2 little screws here with the cover. Use the 2 little screws, put the cover back on, and you will be good to go. If you ever have any questions about your DuraWater softener, we want you to call us toll free at 877-477-5452. Again, that's 877-477-5452. With any questions, we love to help our customers. So once a DuraWater customer, always a customer.